everyone, and welcome to Now, Next, Never, our show about what's happening now, what's happening next, or what may never happen in the world of finance and business news. We've got you covered. I'm Nicole Casperson, and with me, as always, are my hosts, Dalal Saparu and Zaid Admani. What is up, guys? Zaid, tee us up.
Yes, we got great stories today. YouTube adding 4,000 TV episodes. We're going to examine if paid advertising is as annoying for investors as it is for viewers. We're going to also talk about NFTs. The team behind Bored Ape Yacht Club is raising $450 million. Can they potentially be the next Disney? We're going to discuss that. And finally, we have an NFT expert on the show today, the creator of Billionaire Zombies Club, Adryenn Ashley. She's going to talk about her NFT journey, and we're going to ask her a lot of great questions. Delano, tell the people what they need to do before we get started.
Zaid and Nicole, it's great to see you guys again. And for all those who are watching, we are so excited that you're watching. Before we get started, please make sure you like and subscribe so you know every time that we're going live. Also hit that notification button so you know every time we post or do anything, because we love having you interact with us. We have such a great, I'm excited for our guest. We've been talking to her. She is awesome. I'm excited to get to this show. Let's not wait any longer. Let's get into it right now.
All right. YouTube announced that it will stream free ad-supported TV shows and movies, but are ads good for YouTube's business? I mean, to me, YouTube is embracing ads just like every other streaming platform is embracing ads. This makes a lot of sense for these streaming platforms, right? They're trying to figure out how to make more revenue, and before it was just paid subscribers. Now it's using ad-supported model as well. I mean, guys, what do you think? Do you think that ads or no ads for streaming platforms? What do you think is better for business? Dylan, let me know what you think.
Zaid, I know I'm in the minority on this one. I think that no ads is better, right? Netflix is still the top streaming service in the country, right? Based on subscriber numbers. Why? I think a lot of it's because instant gratification world that we live in. We're not going to wait to watch 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes of ads. We want to see our show right this second. If you look at it, there's 17% of consumers, based on a research by Hub Research, 17% of consumers said they would not consider using a service if it had ads in it. So that's a big chunk. Obviously, we know that ads do better for the business in some sense, but Netflix still has other avenues to increase revenue. We know that they've been raising prices, right? Like that's one area. We know that they can do things with the data that they collect. They can sell merchandise. So I think it's better for the business to stick to your core, stick to what your consumers came there for. And we came to Netflix for good content that's not interrupted by ads, Nicole. That's where I stand on this one.
But YouTube is a completely different business, or not completely, but in a case, yeah, it's a different business than what Netflix is. YouTube at its core is a search engine.
Are we still live? Am I still live?
Zaid, you are still live. I think
Okay.
so. What's up, everyone?
I don't know.
Live shows are fun.
Everybody.
Okay, so YouTube is a search engine, all right? It is one of the largest behind Google. So ads actually make sense for YouTube, given that it's closer to that business model, in my opinion, than, say, a Netflix. Yes, it makes sense. If Netflix started doing this ad model, would people be more upset? Probably, but it also is these different tiers, right? So some tiers are gonna have the Netflix version of ads, but you pay less, and that's okay. Some people are down for that. I don't know. I feel like there's people out there that like commercials, but not me. But yeah. I personally pay a premium for my YouTube services, so I prefer the algorithm. I love the optionality. I love that I can go on YouTube, listen to my favorite music video and watch it, and then all of a sudden be pulled into watching 10 Things I Hate About You, from the 90s, and see, baby Julia Stiles crush it. So I love that about it, and so that's why I think, it makes sense for YouTube. Will it make sense for Netflix? By comparison, probably they'll have to do it down the road, but at the end of the day, ad-supported users are better for business, so which is actually better than premium, so...
I'm going to end with this right here. So you're absolutely right. I think ad-supported business are crucial. Variety had an article back in 2019 that 70% of Hulu subs were on ad-supported models. So I think the consumers have shown that they'll pay less to watch ads. And I think at some point in the next 5 years, it's my hot take, Netflix will have an ad-supported model. I agree with you, Delana, though. I hate ads, and I always subscribe to the premium version. But to me, I think it's a no-brainer for the business side. All these streaming platforms are going to embrace ads because it's just too lucrative.
That we might have to do a little friendly wager on that one. A friendly wager. But speaking of, let's go on to our next story, which we'll get the graphic here. Look at this. Guys, can Yuga Labs be the Disney of the metaverse? They seem to think so. So Yuga Labs, which is the owner of 3 of the biggest NFT brands on the market, they just raised $450 million in funding at a $4 billion valuation. And this is something that's really interesting because what they plan to build a media empire around NFTs, starting with games, their own metaverse project. So Yuga Labs thinks, hey, other companies are doing this whole metaverse thing wrong. Guys, are they right? Can they be kind of that Disney of the metaverse? And are other companies doing it wrong, Nicole? This is such an interesting topic to me. I'd love to hear what you think. But before you go into it, I do think they have an angle here with, one being native to the crypto world, right? They're doing something where they're saying, let's not just come in and just go to the metaverse. Let's do something where we collaborate, build things together. That's where that utility is going to be driven, Nicole. And I think it makes sense that they could do it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, will Bored Ape be the next Mickey Mouse? I don't know. It seems a little like a stretch. But, what Yuga Labs is doing is trying to create that NFT empire. And I think that they could be more of this, hyper niche focused platform for those like NFT hipsters, the people that were early adopters, the experts in the field. Whereas, a metaverse is kind of more so trying to create NFTs and this metaverse area for kind of the mainstream, for people that maybe don't understand it as much but want to get involved. And I think that's the difference. So, I mean, Yuga Labs has something going here, obviously, if they're, building this much capital and all these acquisitions and all the things. But, is it going to be the Disney of the metaverse? I think that's a pretty big stretch of a saying. Mickey Mouse is iconic. It's going to take a long time to get there, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a shot though, right? I mean, Yuga Labs owns 2 of the biggest IPs, and the way they're approaching this, the whole metaverse stuff, which is still kind of unknown, is they're building it with characters. They're building it with storytelling, right? So the Bored Ape Yacht Club has a very is good storytelling. It's characters that people like to associate with now, that they're kind of iconic at this point. They also own CryptoPunks, which is probably the second most famous NFT project. So Yuga Labs had a shot to be the Disney of the NFTs. Now, I don't know if that's going to translate into whatever the metaverse is going to be, but my opinion is if Yuga Labs ever gets to the point where they have the potential of being the next Disney, they're going to get acquired, right? I mean, they're worth $4 billion right now. If they continue on the trajectory, they might get to 10, 20 billion, maybe. They're probably going to get acquired by, or they might get acquired by a bigger company that wants to get into this space. Now, again, let me just kind of throw some cold water on this, even though we're going to have Adryenn on in a little bit. Let me throw some cold water on this. NFTs are still an unproven thing. I mean, we could be talking about this being the Beanie Babies 2.0 and be laughing about how someone's spending $300,000 on a JPEG of a monkey in 3 or 4 years, but it's still kind of unproven here. But we're going to talk to Adryenn in just a second to kind of give us more insight on NFTs.
Yeah, Zane, I think what you mentioned was interesting because one of the things that is kind of unproven, we don't know about, is like how we can do better at content. I like the fact that they mentioned their media empire because I think a lot of people want education on this subject because we're all still learning, right? And that's one of the reasons why we all 3 of us are here, because people are still learning about it. And if they're getting good content that educates investors, educates creators, educates people within this space, I think that's a big advantage to them. So I don't think anyone has fully proven that they're doing content that well in the metaverse. If you ask even the experts, they're not fully sure what it all looks like right now. So I think that's a big point where they can really do a good job of educating people as well as bring people into their project and what they're planning to do.
Totally. Yeah, I love that perspective, Delano. Well, speaking of NFTs, on today's show, we are so lucky to have an expert in the world of NFTs. She uses her well-honed techniques to transform celebrity NFT projects into investable assets that build viral community. Excited to learn more about that. She is the founder of Foxies.Art, her most recent NFT project, which will educate 1 million women and girls in blockchain development and entrepreneurship. We love that. She's also co-founder of Billionaire Zombies Club. She helped create a self-sustaining DAO community worth $20 million. She's an award-winning best-selling author with her upcoming book, Minting the Future, which focuses on the perils, pitfalls, and vast potential of NFTs to build community and drive mainstream adoption of blockchain. It's our pleasure to have on Adryenn Ashley, and I'm gonna catch my breath after saying her entire resume. Really impressive. Thank you so much for joining us, Adryenn. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome, amazing. So many accomplishments that you have, and I think the one that maybe resonates with me the most is the work you're doing to bring more women into the world of NFTs. So right now, the NFT market is unfortunately really mirroring the inequity of other financial markets. There's a gender gap issue for sure. Bloomberg has reported that male creators represent 77% of NFT art sales, while only 5% go to women creators. So when you work with educating women, what's maybe the one big misconception that they have about the NFT world? And then what's the one opportunity with NFTs that actually makes them want to join and maybe makes that, change of perspective happen, that click?
So with NFTs, the biggest piece that we have as an opportunity with women is that we play team sports really, really well. We are absolutely wonderful at creating community. Now, a lot of these female artists, the big problem that they have, and that a lot of women also face, is we don't ask for help. So creating that team and getting people to come on board, we can do these things in small pieces, but we may have this big person who's like the key to making everything work, and we're almost afraid to ask. So I would say for women, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to stand up. Stand in your values. Show what you got. That's what we're doing with Foxies. Not only are we educating women who are already developers, because we're going to upskill them. That will be faster. We have this massive, massive deficit in blockchain developers. We can fix that by upskilling all of the women. We can get the girls early. We can get them into STEM, but we can also preserve their self-esteem and their confidence so that they continue on into the market, into tech. And then when it comes to the female founders, when we do this, we then have a huge pool of resources for them to launch projects that are going to change the world. And that's really what we're all about.
I love that. Love that. Adryenn, thank you so much for joining the show. As someone with a 3-year-old daughter, I'm super excited for all the work that you're doing, introducing young girls and women into blockchain. My question to you is something that I've been thinking about is, how do I tell my 57-year-old mom that I'm not crazy for spending 4, sometimes 5 figures to buy a JPEG of a zombie or a fox? And there's a good chance that my mom is watching this right now. So what do we tell her so she's not concerned about my financial well-being?
Okay, well, you have to explain to her the due diligence that you did in deciding that that was the NFT that you were going to buy. Now, you were talking about Bored Apes earlier, and Bored Apes, it is not about the art. It is about the access to the private channel in their Discord. So once you have a Bored Ape, you have access to that. It's about the connections. Think of it like a private club. Once you get in, it's all about the networking and who's in there and things that you can do together and partnerships. And that is the very minimal utility. Now, are they going to take over Disney? No, but they are going to do something else that is going to be quite amazing. So that is great. When it comes to other utilities, if you can stake your NFTs, like Billionaires Zombies Club, when our game comes out, you can stake your NFT and you can earn rewards. It's like going to Disney and you got to rent the stroller because you didn't bring one, right? You want to go, you don't have a zombie, you want to play, you rent one. And so people can earn rewards for that. There's a lot of different utility in Web3 and in NFTs. I don't think it's going anywhere.
So, Mom, I'm doing it because it's an investment so I can get into the cool boys club, cool girls club. That's what it is. Don't be freaked out. So don't worry, Mom. We're good.
I mean, it sounds like art is what is kind of maybe the initial thing that draws people in, but the community is what makes people stay. I think that's the message that gets lost. Yeah. Like, I feel like that communal message, and I love that you said that, because it honestly clicked for me, right? Like that exclusivity of being a part of a club or being a part of something. I mean, especially, in these like post-COVID times, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It does. And like with Foxies, people buy multiples, right? They're going to mint out until they get the rares, and then they're going to flip on the secondary market with the commons. And that's very common. They call them degens. I mean, that's basically what they do. They go into a mint, they buy a whole bunch of them, like you buy a bunch of Foxies, you keep the rare ones, and then you list the common ones. So you end up making back all your money, you keep the rares, and you still have access to the community. And that's kind of the way that people have been working on this whole thing. With ours, once our breeding engine comes out, then every time you mint new one. Every time you breed one, you kick off a scholarship for a woman or a girl. And usually someone who could not afford the education, they get trained in blockchain and entrepreneurship. And that's how we build this community into over 1 million women.
That makes a lot of sense, Adryenn. And I think one of the things you mentioned was super interesting about, not only focusing on what you can do on the money side, but also technology. When you're introducing blockchain technology, it's obviously a tricky concept for adults to understand. When you're introducing this concept to children, are you focusing on the idea of like coding and the technology side, or the financial side, or maybe both? And how do children respond to learning about this new stuff?
So children can code like, I mean, they can literally pick up a Roblox. There's education out there to learn how to code with Minecraft that's really popular with a lot of the kids, and they pick it up very quickly. My kid did too. So it's very easy. When it comes to the financial side, that's a whole piece of financial education. You want to start training your kids young to learn, how to invest, how to take their how to do the due diligence. Blockchain is really just an immutable ledger of what actually happened. It's an ownership token or an access token. It doesn't have to be too complicated. And if you break it down like that, it really works. And they go, okay, that's not so scary. And then you teach them how to do NFTs and trading on the Polygon network, because you can get into a lot of these really cute projects for $1, $2, and then you go through and learn how to check for the different rarities and scoop up some rares for $3 that are then worth 20. So you're not talking about big money investment while they're learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we kind of thinking also back to the, all the Bored Ape comments, and, no one has a crystal ball, right? But we, all felt a certain way. But, is there anything to kind of like thinking of that example and that impact at the very least, right? We can at least say like they had a massive impact, right? And kind of creating the buzz around the space. So like we can give them that. But, when you think about just that level of impact, and then, and then also kind of leveling it out with like all of the amazing work you're doing, and then just like how much is happening in the space in general. I think something people would love to just hear from you is that, kind of that future facing perspective, what is like, and maybe it's what is something super tangible, right? About like the future of NFTs that maybe like the everyday listener could think about and like understand and be like, yeah, this is something I want to, maybe, look into or be a part of.
Okay, so with NFTs, there's something you have to remember. An NFT can be anything. It doesn't have to be a generative 10,000 unit profile picture project, okay? CryptoPunks actually were given away for free eons ago. They were first. They broke the whole kind of old thing. They started this progression. So if you can come up with a really creative, amazing idea, that's great. A lot of people right now are just building a better mousetrap. So they're building 3D Metaverse ready avatars. So you see the chest up in the avatar, but when you buy it, you get the entire body that you can then portal into any Metaverse. That seems to be very popular right now as well. So you've got to think about what are you giving to them. Mm-hmm. But if you can come up with something totally different, keep in mind an NFT can be anything. Go look at BT. He's a musician at BT Music. He's broken the internet twice now. He literally made one of ones that are 150,000 lines of code. And they're freaking amazing. So it can be a singular artist piece like Beeple. It could be an algorithmic computer program like BT's. It can be a photo, but what's in it for the user? If you think about it that way, that's how you're going to create and generate massive community adoption and evangelism.
Oh my gosh, so well said. Okay, I wish I could ask you a million questions about this, and I totally would. But that does it for this section of the show. Thank you so much, Adryenn, for joining us. I so appreciate it and would love to just like connect further. And then of course, like anyone listening and tuning in, I'm sure that, she'd love to connect with you too.
Thank you.
Absolutely. At Adryenn, pretty much everywhere.
Well, we are heading into Now Next Never, where we talk about some of the other stories that are catching our attention and maybe should catch yours as well. Zaid, what is happening right now?
Right now, I never thought this would be happening, but Uber is listing all their yellow cabs in New York on their app. Once enemies. I mean, can you imagine this? Uber was trying to kill yellow cabs and now they're partnering with them. All yellow cabs are going to be listed on the Uber app. And I think this makes a lot of sense. Uber needs more drivers, and having cabs listed on the app will help with that, and help with all the crazy prices that they've had to deal with because of lack of drivers. So makes a lot of sense. And according to the Wall Street Journal article, by 2025, Uber wants to list every taxi driver in the world on its app. So what a
Lofty
pivot on their
goals.
business.
Lofty goals. I wish we would have thought of that one yesterday, guys.
Yeah.
It's like, I think Uber heard us. They watched this show and they were like, those guys, we're going to give them a solution. Anyway, Delano, what's happening next?
Next, Nicole and Zaid, Instagram is introducing 2 new modes that allows users to view time-oriented feed in addition to the algorithmically sorted feed. So Instagram is letting you do something that's toggling between following mode as well as your favorites modes. So I think this is interesting. I think a lot of social media platforms are going to find new ways, new tools to allow their users to kind of implement their own timeline, right? We all want to see what we want to see, not all the time what's being pushed on us. So I think this is new. This is coming up next, and it's going to be a thing that's going to be a trend, I believe, potentially. Don't have a crystal ball, but it could be a trend potentially for a lot of other platforms.
Love it.
Some algorithm control back to the users. That's super interesting. Well, I have never. For me, that is rent prices. The national median rent is up 17% from a year ago, according to a report from Realtor.com. Rent for studio apartments, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms all saw double-digit increases over the past year. I know I have personally felt that pain here in New York City, but it is not just here. It's a national thing going on. So that just makes me sad, which is why it's a never, even though it's currently happening. But hopefully it stops at some point. But that's that. It's just kind of disappointing. But anyways, all right, guys, that does it for today's show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you again to Adryenn for coming on the show. It was so much fun having you. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of Adryenn and having a guest on the show. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Have an awesome Thursday.
Peace.
Tune in every day and remember to like and subscribe and be sure to hit that notification button. See you tomorrow.